Face right now on the blue team. We're not really sure what team it is yet, but do hold on, as our production team will be going on. Oh, Burn, you're right there on the red side. But hey, you know what? You guys are watching the very first game actually of Campus Legends 2020. In fact, not just for both MLB, for MLBB as well. This will be the first game that will be kicking off the whole Campus Legends 2020. We're seeing the bands going in right now. Kimi and Aldous. Now, Kimi is gonna be a monster in the lane. Definitely want to prevent Kimi from actually bullying your turrets, as well as that long range artillery strikes, especially with the maximum charge. So don't want to see Kimi at all. Of course, Aldo is going down in the ban. Ling though, maybe this is a targeted ban. I have got no idea because I've actually never seen these teams play. But speaking of which, Lo E is definitely going to be a banning state, ban away as well. Of course, Luo Yi, super powerful right now, in my opinion. I guess if you guys see in other tournaments, Luo Yi is definitely being used to its fullest, especially with its current buff with the extended range for the dispersion. Definitely not what our red team right here want to be seeing as well. But seeing of which, we're seeing the first picks going down already, because the first pick is definitely important in our tournament, where they kind of show what is going on. Maybe they're going to show off their core, or maybe they just want to pick off one of those very annoying heroes. Speaking of which, we have Kufra, or we going being picked by our blue side, whereas our red side, we're going for a Esmeralda and Uranus pick. Very nice pick right there, especially when the red team right here, we're getting like a 2 first pick, so therefore Esmeralda is kind of like a counter against Uranus, because Uranus has that shield. So definitely a very good job going for our red team right there with our Esmeralda and the Uranus. Speaking of which, going back to the blue team as well. Oh, a little bit cheeky right here. The Tigreal pick and the Gusion. But hold on a second. Fine. All the red team already going for the Claw, revealing their core right before the banning phase. What will blue team gonna be doing? Will they be they definitely to ban. I think they're wanting to ban the Claude at the last minute there, but really, the Claude giving away to the red team, definitely not looking very good for our blue team. But the problem is that the blue team having a little bit too many tanks for my taste. Right now, they definitely have to ban something like a fighter. Jawhead is going to go down for the red team. I don't know why they kind of want to go for the ban on the Jawhead, but Jawhead definitely with the like I want to trademark this wombo combo, the ejector force. Well, the ejector and the unstoppable force wombo combo definitely going to be going down. The Eudora gonna be banned this time around. We're seeing a lot of popularities in terms of Eudora in the ranked games and in the classic games as well, because, oh well, definitely the new skin that came out looks super good. However, I think everyone is also looking at the revamp that we're going on for Eudora. Speaking of which, on the other side, we're looking at the red team as well. They already went for the Selena pick, therefore looking for a more early game pressure, that kind of thing. Kind of want to go against Kusanagi, sorry, my bad. Don't want to, like, they'll be competing against in terms of the early game pressure. However, oh, Layla! What is Layla doing there? What? Oh no! Okay, speaking of which, for some context, those who are just joining in right here, I was actually being a little bit cheeky, hopping onto the Twitch chat just now, and kind of like tease, hey, we're gonna go for a Layla tank. Is this a Layla tank? But it's just one of the things I like to play along. But on the other side, Toxicity, thank you very much. Toxicity, the red team with Divine on the blue team. Whereas they're going for Toxicity, they're going to go for the Atlas to end off the draft. A kind of good pick actually, because right now Atlas, you're going up against Layla, which is not very mobile, and you have basically, I would say, the Guinevere slightly mobile, but I guess your core is going to be very important. Divine, don't forget, they're winning a little bit greedy right here. They're going for the Tigreal as well as the Kufra, which means that they'll be on the late side in terms of the, I would say, the damage side. So they have to put all their eggs in their basket into these two heroes, i.e. their Layla and their Guinevere. So they have to play slightly safe and make sure that they Layla get as much farm as possible before that Layla will be a monster. So I would say that between Divine and Toxicity, they're going for a time attack. I will call it a time attack. Toxicity right now, they cannot allow that Layla to farm too much. If the Layla went overboard with the extended range that she gets as per level, they can actually take down turrets from afar from a safe distance away. So that is not something that Toxicity wants to meet. Whereas Divine's Gusion would be extremely important right here to kind of like bring the team from the early game to the late game where what I would expect is Divine's Gusion to be going around the map, setting up the gang, setting up the game, setting up the plays and all this kind of stuff before they can go in and pass the baton over to Layla. But speaking of which, we're hopping to game number 1 of Divine versus Toxicity, with Divine on the blue side represented by NKML, Deem, Kusanagi, Yoshizakazu, and CNKL. For the other side, Toxicity, Vermos, Fime, JR7, Juju, and Burn on the Atlas. Oh, they're having a bit of good time in the middle already. Speaking of, Burn is going to jump into to give a little bit of stun. That's a lot of damage down for Gusion already. That's gonna be that's gonna scare Gusion a little bit. But the problem is that Guinevere is going up against Uranus on the top lane. Uranus is definitely going to stomp Guinevere in the early game because of the tankiness of Uranus as well as the regeneration. So Guinevere have to hold down that lane. Whereas on the bottom side, since both sides are going to go for the 1-3-1, Tigreal being used as an off lane, that is gonna be a very interesting strategy coming out from Divine as well. Okay, Toxicity kind of found out that their Kusanagi really won that blue buff. Oh, that blue buff is definitely gonna be taken away by Toxicity. Divine playing a little bit scared right now. They have to hold on. Oh, Juju going down, the Absol Arrow landing. Juju, is that a little bit overcommitment right there? You don't want to give that first blood over. Juju managed to run away. You almost, ooh, Kusanagi gonna be cleaning up with that blades. But speaking of which, Venomous is actually doing a lot of work at the backline right here, clearing up that one kill as well. Ooh, that is a 2-4-1 going again in the advantage of Toxicity as well. Look at that gold lead. That definitely pushed that gold lead a lot earlier. That is not looking good for Divine. First of all, the blue buff is not given to Gusion, which is extremely who he really needs it during the early game pressure going around. But the problem is that Toxicity took it from them, and not only that, they also took 2 kills away. But on the other end, that Gusion went down again. He is food for Toxicity, and therefore definitely in the early game, Toxicity is in the lead. Oh, that is a very nice Absol Arrow. Vermos is just going to follow up, dishing out a bit of damage against the Kufra, but I don't think that Blazing Duet, but hey, look at that Blazing Duet. Kuna is already online already. Oh, Ella's going in. Would that be a Fatal Links coming down? No, the Fatal Links did not go down. Esmeralda tries to do a bit of damage from afar, but Yoshizaku, Guinevere jumping in. Tigreal, ooh, doing that knockup as well. That's going to be a cleanup for Toxicity. Esmeralda has to run away. That is a bit of an early aggression that kind of bites back at them in a very bad way, and this means that free farm for our Uranus player right here. And basically, while the Guinevere kind of have to give up that lane to try to pick up the kill for Toxicity, that kind of evens up the kill score. But you don't forget, if you leave that Uranus unattended, like basically your children, don't leave your children unattended, and that's the same strategy you have to apply to the Uranus. If you leave that Uranus unattended, like, well, look at that. It takes 2 heroes to try to actually take Fire down, and it doesn't matter because at the same time, Toxicity, even though they get 1 kill, the red buff fell in the hand of Toxicity as well. I don't think Uranus is your main core. That Claude right there of Toxicity is the MVP, not say MVP, but a HVT, high value target of Divine as well. Oh, Fatal Links going down, catching the Layla as well. That means that all the damage that is actually gone, wiped out from the board from Divine, and they are forced in a retreat, giving up this blue buff again. Toxicity on a roll right here, taking this buff. Basically, Toxicity telling Divine, your buff is my buff. Definitely very good already for Toxicity in the early game. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, Toxicity is playing on the timer right here. If Divine were to get onto, like, that farm onto that Layla, which is actually having a 0-2-2 right now, but every minute that goes by that Toxicity is giving to Divine, there is a chance for Divine to turn this around. And if I would say in the late game, yes, maybe Selena kind of falls off in the late game, but don't forget, Selena can still dish out that absolute arrow, which is going to be critical in terms of catching out our Layla player right here. So right now, we're looking at the game going into a very, okay, hold on a second. I was about to say, but a bit peaceful kind of like a mid game, but it seems like Toxicity is looking for an anger right here. I believe that is a Fatal Links going down, lots of skills being tossed, but it feels like Toxicity is being very alive right here. The Layla player went down for the count, and Buramos is just going to be able to walk away. I don't think he really needs that kill anymore at this period of time. Giving the kill over to Juju, and that would be a almost wipeout in terms of Divine. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Guinevere cannot leave this Uranus unattended. And that means that with those teams down from Divine, Toxicity is going to take this tier 2 mid turret, definitely opening the map in the favor of Toxicity already. What is Divine's plan? What can they do? Guinevere has no choice but to attend to this Uranus, leaving the 4 team on the other side, basically the Gushen, the Layla as well, the Garen, sorry, the Tigro, my bad, the Kufra as well. These people have to be careful. Oh, very nice flash! Fatal Links going in, and therefore giving the triple kill over to Esmeralda with the Blazing Duet. It's gonna dish out a lot of damage as well for the side of Toxicity. But speaking of which, Burn managed to get out alive. What a play! That flicker, Fatal Links right there, definitely the I would say if we are having a replay of this, that is the best a Kodak moment for Burn in terms of the flicker Fatal Links, and this opens up to a lot of things for Toxicity. It's absolutely difficult right now for Divine to walk back in this game. Look at that, constantly getting caught up by the Absolute Arrow. That is not a very fun Layla to be playing right now, because as much as she tries to get in close, there is a risk of the Fatal Links. There is a risk of the Selena coming on with the Absolute Arrow, and there is a risk of the Esmeralda as well. Speaking of which, Juju barely missing that, but that doesn't matter. Toxicity is pushing the waves up against Divine's wall. Divine has to find some Divine Miracle right now in order to get over it. They cannot give those skill shots over to Toxicity. Every time the Absolute Arrow land, there is a potential play. Look at that Absolute Arrow constantly laying down. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not even going into the Lord yet. We're still at the Turtle phase. And look at that Turtle going in, securing that gold, that 10k, almost 10k gold lead already. Okay, Juju a little bit greedy right there, shutting down Fatal Links, not able to catch up the main thing, but don't worry, man. The Claw is at the back line doing up all the job, basically wiping out Divine already. Literally a huge wipe out coming from Toxicity, and they don't want anything anymore. They just want to win the game, and I believe game number 1 is going in the favor of Toxicity. Wow, aggressive play coming out from our blue team right here, and oof, that is definitely not a very good game. No offense to our blue team or Divine. The problem is, what is Divine gonna do? I think they kind of draft a little bit too greedy in terms of the tanky side. They went for the Kufra, they went for the Tigro, and the Gushen in the early game is basically, I would say, got denied for the blue buff. And look at the victory, basically the victory score right here, and look at that Claw, 37% damage. And not to forget, I would say that Esmeralda is just there to hold the lane ish kind of thing, but look, not to forget that 23% damage going in terms of Juju. Layla, I would expect she is the one that's dealing the most damage out of this, but I would say that her getting constantly caught up by the Fatal Links, her getting constantly caught up by the Absolute Arrow kind of scares her a lot. So therefore, our Layla player here is playing very relatively safe, and a bit too many tanks for Divine's side. So, well, they kind of expect to bring this game into the late game, but I don't think that's the case, because Toxicity is just relentlessly landing those blow over and over again, stealing the buff from the Gushen. And remember what I said in early on just now. It really relies on that Gushen landing those setups and all this kind of stuff, so that the carry gets to transition over to Layla. But Toxicity never gave the Gushen a chance, constantly evading the buff. Literally, like what I said, my buff, sorry, your buff is my buff. My buff is my buff. Not letting Gushen a single chance in terms of getting the buffs which he desperately needs in order to roam around the map effectively. But other than that, not to forget toxicity. That bird, that Atlas player, Burn, I would say. Wow, that is a very good flicker. Fatal links at the bottom part as well, basically pulling. I think that was a four-man pull, and literally allows Claude to go ham. That sets up for the Esmeralda ultimate, and that is definitely going to go well in the books of Toxicity. Feeling good right here. Definitely taking the first game away, knocking out the win of Divine as well in the first game. So, what is Divine's answer? Should they not have drafted that two tanks? Or maybe this is just a litmus test to, get Toxicity to pull out all their cards. Because don't forget, not only in tournaments, you not only have to be good mechanically, you have to be good in terms of your strategies, you have to be good in terms of your stamina as well. So, well, this is just the first game. This is a best of three. Don't forget, this is a best of three, but a single elimination. Best of three, technically, they can play a little bit, risky. Pulling out the Layla, I will give kudos to that, especially if it pulls off. That is definitely gonna bring toxicity a little bit. Gonna bring a little bit of like a tilt over to toxicity. Can you imagine the first game and you pull out a Layla and Layla literally walks all over you? You're like, ugh. But then again, that gamble did not pay off for Divine. So maybe Divine should not have went for the gamble anymore. They should have to go for the more common picks and not to go for two tanks, because don't forget, there is no damage coming out from the side of Divine. There's a lot of damage coming out from Toxicity. The Selena going in with the Absol Arrow in the early game, that is extremely painful. The Claude jumping into the back line, dealing so much damage all across the board. The Gushin is unable to run away. The Layla is definitely immobile. I believe she actually took the shield rather than the Purify. Especially when you're going up against an Atlas, you need a Purify. But I think that they feel like, hey, I've got so much CC on my end, I don't really need a Purify or Cleanse or anything. But facing an Atlas, especially when you're clumped up together, you give the Atlas an opportunity to go in, especially that flicker fatal links. That is gonna definitely a team wipe. Definitely a team wipe. And pair on with Esmeralda's ultimate, try to trap everyone there at one spot, and the clock jumping in, doing that blazing duet. Basically, in the books of toxicity, that is a wonderful wombo combo coming out from our red team early on just now. Alright, as we're setting up for the second game, we're not really sure when it's going on, but give them some time for them to hop into the game as well. But don't forget, right now we got to talk about the biggest issue, which is what is Divine going to do? Are they going to go for two tanks again? Like I said, not really advisable, because tanks don't deal damage. Uranus. Okay, fine. Uranus does deal damage, especially from one of the other team. I saw that 37% attack damage Uranus. Hope to be able to see that kind of Uranus coming up again. And also, we also have to point out, Divine is letting all the good picks over to Toxicity as well. So they let go of an Atlas. They let go of a Esmeralda. They let go of a Claude. They let go of the Uranus. These four heroes definitely brought the victory over to Toxicity as well. So, I would say Divine kind of lost out in the drafting phase already. I feel like Toxicity was like, okay, if they're not going to go for the Claude, I'm going to go for the Claude. At the last second, basically the last pick, they went for the Claude. So, very sneaky drafting right here. And I think Toxicity knows what's going on. But hey, maybe that is just a ruse from Divine. Who knows? We'll have to check in our second game. We're checking in the second game whether it's ready yet or not yet, because if it's ready, we'll just show it to you right away, because I am extremely excited. Because look, I really want to find out what Divine has up their sleeve. Maybe they're just hiding the best card away from Toxicity as well, especially if this is the first game. They want to see what is Toxicity have on board. Don't forget, this is just purely a warm-up as well. Throwing up the Layla, kind of interesting. But hey, I think I've gone through all the points that I have from game number one. But I also have to talk to you about Uranus. Uranus, usually a tank. Okay, hold on a second. I feel I got a word from the production team that game number two is ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop into game number two with Toxicity going against Divine, with Toxicity on the blue side this time round and Divine on the red side. Like, once again, almost immediately, Divine, they know that Claude is going to be very dreadful for their lineup, immediately banning that Claude already. Not Cho, it's Kaja, the better Cho, I would say. The Kaja are getting banned already by Toxicity. Yes, he's very flexible. It's kind of those kind of bans that I'm not really sure what to ban. I'll just go ahead and ban the Kaja because definitely Kaja is going to give a lot of problems to them. And don't forget, first pick is going to be going to Toxicity as well. So Kufa is going to get banned from Toxicity, and therefore Divine, I think this limits the valid tanks out there. Yes, in my list right now, I would say that Atlas is becoming my favorite tank right now as compared to the Kufra. But banning away the Kufra, which means that what other tanks are open? There is an Atlas, there is an Ilos as well. So we shall see. Burn going for a Grok or teasing a Johnson. Wait, is that a Johnson pick? Interesting, but hold on a second. Divine going for a Kimi ban as well. They just don't want to see a Kimi, in my opinion. But speaking of which, Burn teasing the Kimi. Oh, don't tease that Leslie. Oh, I'm gonna look for you later on Discord. Oh my goodness, I was thought. Leslie. But anyways, the Toxicity go for the Esmeralda. Okay, Mia. No, don't go for the Mia. The Layla kind of failed, but okay, go for the Eudora instead. We're still waiting for that revamp for Eudora. So Eudora right now still same, no change. But going for the Eudora, which means that Eudora is gonna be vital in terms of giving that burst damage. So what Eudora wants to play is to play something like a Aurora as well, in order to like sneakily hide in the bush, flicker out there, stun the first skill, Fork Lightning, and the wombo combo of the ultimate to follow up for maximum damage. Okay, Toxicity, what are they gonna be picking right now? I don't really like. Okay, sorry, hold on a second. Divine going for the Grok instead. Okay, that is a decent tank, especially in the early game with the Power of Nature or the Whirlwind or Turnaround, Merry-Go-Round is able to do a lot of damage in the early game. But during the later stage of the game, there's not really a lot of hard lockdown. Whereas for Toxicity side, we're seeing the hard lockdown coming out from Atlas and Esmeralda as well. Granger will be the Toxicity's pick for the marksman, and Carry will be the Divine's marksman. Okay, Carry versus a Granger. I would say that in the early game, the Granger is definitely going to win, because Granger doesn't really need as much gold as compared to Carry. Well, technically Carry just needs an endless battle, but the range is something that you have to talk about. Granger's range is extremely long, with the Death Sonata and Rhapsody to constantly kite you away as you try to close into him. But don't forget, if Kusanagi or whoever is going to be playing the carry later from Divine has to go in close, and they'll face a problem, which is the Atlas. The Atlas will be waiting for either of the carries, or basically the carry of Divine, to just jump in, and all Atlas have to do is, Fatal Links. That's all easy. Usually, the Atlas have to go in close. But I think carry is here is to do the job. Speaking of which, the ban's going down for Divine. Selena, definitely a good idea, because you don't want to have that early game pressure exerted by Selena. Cho is going to go down for Toxicity. Therefore, that Fanny pick as well coming up from Toxicity. Feeling good from game number one, if you ask me. But speaking of which, Toxicity, it feels like they don't want to go for those kind of heroes where they can lock down this one person, which is kind of nice coming out from Toxicity as well. So Divine, what is your answer to game number one? They've got one tank. Are they going to go for another tank again? Or maybe this time around they need something more of a long range, because I'm seeing a lot of short range heroes. Okay, fine, going for Franco. Franco this time around being used as a I would say support in a sense, because Franco technically not a tank. You want to be hooking in whoever is coming in. And the best part is when Fanny is going to jump into your team, the Francos will be in the middle right there, going to do that unrelenting force, if I'm not mistaken, for the ultimate to stun lock that that Fanny coming in to kind of protect the Eudora or the carry at the backline. So this time draft kind of more balanced, I would say, but Toxicity though, in my opinion, still have the better matchup because they've got the Atlas in play. Because Atlas, definitely the Fatal Links is something that they have to look out for, and the Atlas wobble combo with the Grandeur, the Fanny just have to do Fanny things, going in the thick and thin of the team fight, trying to snipe off the carry, or if I'm not mistaken, the Eudora as well. But Fanny is playing a little bit of a gamble right here, in my opinion, because there's a lot of more potential one tap lockdown coming out from our red team this time round. So Fanny has to find that angle. Let the Atlas eat up as much CC as possible as they're trying to go in, or maybe try to have another of the other tosses blue team to actually eat up all that CC as well. Don't forget there's a Kagura as well. Basically a lot of very mobile heroes from our blue team right here. But ladies and gentlemen, we're hopping into game number 2 this time around. We're not really sure what is Divine going to be able to do up against Toxicity draft this time. To be honest, that Franco is a little bit of a shocker to me. They really need, I would say the far side is open, and that will definitely be a little bit more helpful in terms of locking down, but there is a lot of mobile heroes coming from Toxicity side, so they have to be extremely careful. But in terms of tankiness though, Divine still technically wins. The X-Bot is quite tanky, and going up against Esmeralda, look at that. X-Bot can just bully Esmeralda out of the lane. But I feel like Esmeralda knows what's up, has to maintain that distance, and immediately look at that evade in the blue buff of the red team side already. This allows the Fanny to jump in as well, and ooh, nice first blood going down in the favor of Toxicity, leaving Yoshizaku to here to run away. There's a lot of damage coming out from Toxicity side in the early game as well. The Grok is not in the thick of the fight. There's no Hurricane going down, but even after the Hurricane going down, there is no follow-up. So bad play coming up from Divine, allowing Toxicity to basically invade and kind of throw them off the game. But hold on a second, off screen right there, we saw the Fanny going down instead. Okay, probably like a hook coming out from our Franco player right here. And this means that the gold crab is definitely going to go in the favor of Divine. But hold on a second, ooh, Grok, very low. You don't want to go up against Juju and our JR7 Grandeur player right here, because that is a lot of damage output in the early game as well. Grandeur, like I said, don't really need as much gold. The main thing what Divine needs to do is for Kusunagi to actually get as much farm as possible. That would be nice and dandy. For Esmeralda, just have to hold the lane. Fanny, clear off the wave as quickly as possible and invade. Fanny being used as an offlaner, pretty smart I would say, because you know the best part is once you clear off your lane, you can rotate to the mid, get some kills. If you're not lucky, you can rotate back to the lane, back to your lane. But ooh, nice Franco hook over there. But this means that Franco will be getting a very free Fatal Links on 3 members of Divine. Dim is looking very low right now, and that was a double kill going for Grandeur with the Bounty Hunter emblem, pushing that gold to a 2k gold lead for Toxicity. And Divine, Kusunagi kind of knows, okay, you know what, I don't think I can do anything anymore. I'm just gonna have to push it and defend the lane. Pretty smart move. Don't give that gold to JR7, especially with the Bounty Hunter emblem. But speaking of which, this means that Toxicity will have free play. Try to clear off as much objectives as possible, especially with the invade. Definitely. The blue buff taking that blue buff away, which means that the Eudora don't get as much stuns. Well, hold on a second. Oh, a lot of team fight happening right here in the blue buff right here. But Fatal Links gonna catch one of the member for Divine, but that's not kind of needed as the Grandeur picking up that double kill already. And ooh, Divine on the back end right here. And don't forget guys, this is a single elimination. If this game goes in the favor of Toxicity again, Toxicity will be able to move on in the series as well. And with that gold lead, that 3k gold lead, that's one item probably in the core somewhere as well. Fanny just having a lot of fun actually in the mid lane. But ooh, that blue buff invade, constantly denying that blue buff. Very cheeky, very huge gamble coming out from Toxicity. If they will be able to take all away that blue buff, their carry won't get that blue buff, she won't be able to dash as much as possible. The best part is they get an extra blue buff, giving in the Grandeur for the cooldown reduction, and that is going to be nice and dandy for Toxicity. In meantime, Burn providing a lot of vision right here. I feel like they really want this top lane. Fanny just gonna test the waters right here. Probably want to bait out a few CC, but ooh, Burn, nice ultimate right here, picking 3 members of Divine. 3 members literally melted down by the Kagura ultimate, and the Grandeur ultimate as well. It means with 3 members down, what is Divine be able to do against this onslaught of the top lane right here? The top lane enemy, top lane red turret is going down, opening that map a lot more for Toxicity. Esmeralda, all she has to do is just hold that lane. She doesn't really need to move around, and well, buy one get one free. Not only you just hold that lane, you take down that carry, preventing that carry from getting that farm that is required in order to get that gold. You have to stay alive. But giving that kill over to Toxicity, another blow for Divine. Oh, very nice. A very nice Fatal Links right here. Burn setting up the crucial setup that is required for Toxicity to walk over. Death Sonata going down. 3 of them gonna land. Ooh, that last Death Sonata dealing so much damage to our carry player right here. Carry player tries to juke in the turret, but what can Divine do? And the best part is, Burn gets out alive. Wow, that setup from Burn as well, and this means that the bottom lane turret for the red side is going to go down, and in fact a potential second turret if the Esmeralda is greedy but decides to back off instead. Well, fine. I mean, like, you kind of just hold on the lane already, you push that turret in the lane. I don't understand why Divine doesn't want to focus on Esmeralda, because that Esmeralda is vulnerable. She is there alone, whereas the other team of Toxicity, but hold that thought right here. The Fatal Links going down once again. 5 of them getting caught in the crosshairs of Atlas, and that is another team wipe almost immediately. 6 minutes in, and in game number 2, I feel that there is no answer coming out from Divine. Divine is going to be able to walk over. Toxicity is gonna be able to walk all over Divine as well. Clear out the inner turrets. I don't really see how Divine can actually come back from this. Well, potentially, but look at that. The carry from Toxicity is staying in a very safe position. Very good position, actually. They have to go through the Atlas Fatal Links. They have to go through Juju. Ultimate is definitely going to be helpful in terms of kiting and Esmeralda locking them down, and they also have to be careful. Divine also have to be careful with the Fanny jumping in as well. So definitely not really sure how Divine is going to be able to come out of there. Okay, Toxicity respecting Divine, knowing that, hey, I've got this game in the bag already. I don't really need the Lord. Guys, the Lord is not even spawning yet. We're still at the turtle phase, and one turret of Divine, the top inner turret of Divine went down. Not looking good for Divine. What is Divine going to do? This means that they're going to be cut off with a lot of farm. They cannot farm as effectively as possible. Like I said, Kusunagi needs that farm as much as possible. But the problem is, Toxicity is denying everything. And I feel like they're sieging up the jumping in, and Fatal Link is going to sweep up 2 members of Divine. The ultimate coming out from the Death Sonata as well as Kagura is going to be tossing down so much damage from Toxicity. Fanny doesn't really need to jump in. All she has to do is just clear up as much, being the cleanup crew, and in fact. But Juju a little bit greedy right here, but managed to get away alive. But hold on a second, Grandeur jumps in. That mobile Grandeur doesn't really need as much farm as possible. Doesn't really need as much farm, dealing so much damage towards the team of Divine. What can they do in terms of defending? Those are 2 tanks. Yes, the X-Board can sweep, but that is a last ditch effort of Grog Ultimate trying to rush in as well, but gonna get swept up by a very fed of level 14. Like, guys, we're looking at level 14 Grandeur against level 7 tanks. A clean base from Divine. What Divine can do. Very nice. I would say that how many times have I say This Fatal Link's very well landed. I don't really understand why Divine actually allows that Atlas going in the pick of Toxicity, and definitely Toxicity going to be getting this game. In fact, this series already, wow, a decisive game brought to you by, well, both teams are from ITE Central, but I would say that very nice game in the bag for Toxicity already, and therefore Toxicity will be moving on in the series, but don't go away yet, as we'll be checking in on which team will be going up against. But looking back at that game early on, it feels like Toxicity finished that game within less than what, 10 minutes, or maybe around 10 minutes. But you know what this means? This means that Toxicity, in a sense, have the better draft. In game number one for Divine, they went for the Layla pick, which doesn't make sense. They went for two tanks pick, which also doesn't make sense. But then after that, in the second game, they kind of have a pick that makes sense, but they're giving away the valuable heroes over to Toxicity. The Atlas going in their favor, the Grandeur, which is a lot easier in terms of the farm as well, going in Toxicity favor. The Kagura and the family, those are just pocket picks where they're just playing for fun. Basically, in my opinion, they're just having this for fun and basically walked all over Divine at that second game. I would say that Toxicity, they also had that uh, discipline as well. Because if you saw that Esmeralda just holding that lane very diligently, not going over to help the other side. Well, technically, Toxicity, the four members doesn't really need to walk anyways. The export is definitely have to be pulled to the defense, leaving Esmeralda to farm as much gold as she wants. Free lane for her, walk all over. Basically, not only just hold the lane, when Carrie tries to farm from that lane as well, she shut down Carrie. So that is definitely not a very good game coming out from Divine as well. And don't forget, this is a single elimination, which means that Divine will be going down from this Campus Legends already in 2020. Toxicity will be moving up in the series. But other than that, of course, I would like to give a huge shout out to our players as well. Don't forget, you saw Divine going up against Toxicity. There are also other games currently being played as well. We have Team Phase 2 and Transcendent, where Transcendent actually got the 2-0 score. Then Team Gaius going up against Transcendent, but Team Gaius actually got that game instead. So they're also moving in the semifinals. And other than that, we also have Lightborn versus Masarap. And like I said, Masarap and Toxicity are the teams that actually caught my eye. No offense to the others. But don't forget, we all experienced in the previous tournaments, they might be black horses in games, especially in the esports scene. Other than that, Glorious and Sleepless as well on the other team. So with these teams, we shall be picking who will be going up in phase 2, which will be resolving today, and there will be your representative for ITE Central. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned as we'll be checking in which team will be going in, because don't forget, like I said, this is just a first few games, guys, but anything and everything can change. So do stay tuned. And don't forget, if you want to walk away with some freebies right here, as you can see in front of my table right now, this time around, you have like all these Samsung phones. Uh, these are the phones that our players will be winning as well. But if you want to win some phones as well, don't forget to hop onto our Instagram and Facebook to find out how you can walk away and be a winner yourself as well. Give a huge shout out to our official audio sponsor JBL and our official mobile partner Samsung and official other supporting partners Yahoo, One Play Sports, and many others. And of course, you guys sitting at home in your sofa, just watch that very decisive game coming out from Toxicity and Divine. So, ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned as we're hopping into the second match, and we're checking in with the production team whether they are getting rid with the games yet. But I think they need some bit of time. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned. Don't go away, as we'll be bringing you more games for Campus Legends 2020.